Hello and welcome to a new episode of Josh's Car Corner, where for the first time in months I am going to be doing some work on the GTO. So even the newest of these cars are closing in on being 20 years old. And of course, 20-year-old car, things fall apart, things break, and replacements are really hard to come by. So one thing that you may not be able to see just looking at the car right now is that my front bumper, although it looks like it's properly attached to everything, the tabs on both sides, on both fenders, are completely broken. Now, the way I've been holding the bumper in place is by using a trick where you get a long, thick zip tie and you get it up and underneath the part of the tabs that is welded to the bumper itself, and then there's a place on each side where you can route that zip tie and you can just cinch it up and that pulls it back in so it still looks somewhat presentable. But it only pulls it in one place and it doesn't hold the bumper perfectly, and it's not the right way to do things. Fortunately now, there is a way to correct this problem that so many of us have with these broken bumper tabs. There is a guy in Australia who has a store, and that store is called JTSpec, JTSpec, and he now makes these metal reinforcement plates for where the bumper tabs go, and then instead of the plastic holding the bumper in place, steel is holding the bumper in place. This is a fairly easy thing to install. All it requires is a couple of basic hand tools. So I'm going to take you through the process of installing these support plates and getting my bumper held back in the way it's supposed to. And as an added bonus, I'm also going to be fixing a problem I've had for years, which is with these three bolts up here. See, these screws go into just the upper support itself. So it's tapped, and then there's just a couple of threads in there, no more than two. And after you've taken this on enough times, those threads get wore out and they get stripped. This one's completely stripped. This one is halfway stripped. And I'm tired of these backing themselves off and the top of the bumper getting loose. So I'm going to also break out my new favorite tool in the world, the rivet nut tool, and I'm going to install some new rivet nuts in here where they'll have a lot more threads, and then I'm going to put some new screws in here to hold this thing down so it can never come loose again. So I'll take you through getting the bumper off, and we'll get started installing these support plates. So along with these three bolts right here that hold the bumper on the top, you also have on the side here two screws that screw into the wheel arch liner to support the bumper in the wheel well. You take these out, and that is all the hardware that holds this in. Everything else is held by the tabs in here that you will see in a second are broken. As you can see, I have got the front bumper all laid out here and ready to start work. Now, these are the pieces that come with the kit. So you get matching sides for each. So this is the long end that goes under the fender. This, because GTO bumpers are special and they have that extra little clip in here, the guy who makes it, he wants you to glue these pieces on using plastic bonder, but to make sure you get maximum adhesion from the glue, you take some sandpaper or a scuff pad and you just scuff up the surfaces where these things are going to make contact. That'll add little grooves into the plastic, which will create more surface area and help the plastic bonder to adhere better to the plastic. These little fingers right here are supposed to touch up against the plastic on the wall, and you can cover those up with some plastic bonder too to add a little more strength. These are a little different. These don't have a perfect home that they fall into. You just kind of have to line them up with the hole that's already there. And I don't see any way of putting them on the bottom and getting them to line up. These have to go on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my plastic bonder out, get it mixed up here. It's two parts and you have to mix it together. And then I'm just going to go a piece at a time, and then I'm just going to use vice grips just to hold the pieces down a little bit, especially the long pieces, to make sure I get good bonding. This stuff is supposed to cure in 15 minutes for initial cure. Then I'm going to go to another side and just keep working my way around until I get all of these put on. A stir stick is a great way to get this mixed up, but if you don't have that, just take a screwdriver and put a bunch of masking tape on the end of it, and then you can just peel the tape off when you're done. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first piece. Get this covered on the main section. Not going to put it any near the holes. I don't want it to cover up the holes where this thing clips. Okay, this side is all done and dried up now. Now I'm going to do this side, but I have a bit of a different situation on this one because you can see right here, this tab on this corner is completely broken off. So this is actually going to be replacing the entire tab. So in a way, it's better that this part actually slides over, because then it's going in behind this original piece, and that will hold it a little better. So the only thing about this is you have to get it at the same location as that one, and now I don't have a hole to follow it, so I'm gonna just have to try to eyeball and get it as close as I possibly can so it does line up. But at least when I'm done, this corner will be held in again on its own, and things will be a little better. So I'm gonna get started on this side. I'm actually gonna start with this piece first because of the damage. Okay, so while the JB weld is drying on those braces, I'm gonna go ahead and get back to getting these screws fixed here. So I've already got 2 of these riv nuts put in here. So it's a pretty simple thing. Just go get a Christmas tree bit like this, and you just gotta open them up to the correct size for the riv nut you wanna use. In this case, I'm gonna use M6 rivet nuts. So I just go ahead and open these up. Okay, that is nice and tight. Okay, so now instead of those big coarse threads that kept getting stripped out, now I've got nice fine threads in there that go a long way in, and those are not coming out. So now all I gotta do is wait for that JB weld to dry on those braces, and I can go ahead and put the bumper back on. Okay, I've let this dry for a few hours now, and this is the end result. These things are rigidly attached, and I know that this resin is good because I use this same stuff to fix my shifter that's in the crewman, and it is rock solid. So that should provide great reinforcement on that tab that's still there. But what I'm really excited about is the tab over here that was broken off. This, I mean, and I've tried moving it, that is not moving. That is stiffer than plastic. That is not gonna give. Same reinforcement right here. So I'm gonna slap this bumper back on, and we'll see how she looks. So as you can see, the bumper is now back on, and I gotta say, it has not fit this good in years. The seam is really nice and tight on both sides, and with that new piece of metal replacing the plastic part that broke off the bumper before, there's actually something holding it on the right-hand side now, and it looks really good. I will say, putting those steel pieces in and then gluing them in place stiffens all of this up, really stiff. It does make it difficult to get the bumper back on. You've really got to bend and pull to get it around the corner where the mud guard is, and to get it around where this bracket is right here in the front under the headlight. What I'm a little concerned about is the day when it comes to take the bumper back off, because I already had this corner snapped in and I had to really work to get it back off, because that metal adds depth to where it engages the fingers on this piece. That being said, if it's that difficult to get off, there is no way it's popping back out. Also, when I was taking this apart, I found out that the bracket on the right-hand side that all of the bumper attaches to, where the bolt goes into the back side of it to engage it under the mud guard, that was broken off completely. Fortunately, I had an extra one of those brackets, and I threw that in and put a new bolt in there, a bigger bolt, so that's going to be held in better than it was being held before. And I've got this all secured now. These bolts are not coming out again, so I'm very happy about that. This bumper is fully secured to the car. I would advise you go to jtspec.com.au and get this kit for yourself if you have broken bumper tabs and want a permanent fix, or if you just want to strengthen everything for the future. So that's going to do it for this episode of Josh's Car Corner. With any luck, the ultimate big brake upgrade video will be coming not far behind this one. See you next time.